What's going on, guys? And welcome back to a brand new series of three of your favorite creators on YouTube. I'm joined by Semix today in an official capacity, and we have James from the Muppeteers joining us telepathically, I guess. Just kidding. Obviously, he's recorded some segments for us because we're still trying to figure out some logistics between the three of us in terms of timing and everything like that. But you guys showed us so much love on the podcast that we posted on Semix's channel recently that we decided to launch this brand new series for you guys. So this is officially episode 1 of the Three Devils podcast. Our goal each week is to take you guys beyond the eye test and give you the stats, the tactics, and the inside news around Man United. All three of us have some of these things as our core competencies, and we're just trying to elevate the quality of United content on YouTube one episode at a time. So, Semix, how are we feeling today? And did I do a decent job of introducing our new podcast?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's really good. I'm so excited. I know we've been talking about this literally since the day after the last podcast released. And again, just like Andy said here, it's all thanks to you guys. It's actually you guys who kind of built this whole idea. We didn't know we would get the kind of love we got. I had a good feeling about it. I knew that working with these two gentlemen that only good things could come out of it, and you guys kind of pushed it over the edge and made it a reality. So thanks to everybody who watches these things. Please hit the like button and help keep supporting us. And I know if James was here, he'd really want to say the same thing and show you guys some love, because he was actually one of the people who was in the comments reading everything and messaging me and going, man, these comments are amazing. So I could say that on James's behalf, that he's also excited to go, take this to the next level.
I'll take it a step further, Sam, because when we were talking about it the day after the podcast came out, while we were on the phone, I'm pretty sure James messaged you at the same time saying, "Hey, we should do a weekly podcast." So great minds think alike and all that. And I don't just mean the three of us; I mean all of us, including you guys in the comments. So, like I said, echoing everything that Semik said, thank you guys so much. So, without any further ado, let's get into some of the spicy segments that we have for you today, because we're going to start off the bat straight away with something that Rob Dawson came out and said. He said that United are not going to sign anybody in January. And because James is the transfer expert, let's cut straight to what James has to say on this.
Yeah, so with regards to the claim that United wouldn't necessarily not be signing anyone in January, I think maybe, a little bit missing in context with a claim like that. The fact of the matter is that United are considering spending in January, but what they understand and have definitely seen is that they're not likely to be getting their major midfield targets in January. And we've seen more reports about this in the last 24 hours, kind of confirming that. But this is something I've been saying for months now, is that they made the checks on Elliot Anderson, Baleba, Wharton. They want one, maybe two of those players. They're not available in January as of right now. But that doesn't mean that they will not necessarily be doing business in January. It means that they want their major guys then, and they're not necessarily going to sign like a cheap alternative to that. But you have to bear in mind here that things are very flexible when it comes to United's midfield. They could end up signing 3 midfielders. They could rebuild the entire thing. We're not certain of Bruno's future. Casemiro is definitely not certain to say. Ugarte has not nailed down a spot and he could leave. And Kobbie Mainoo is at the moment wanting away. Signing a cheaper player, someone like Joao Gomes in January, if possible, wouldn't supersede potentially the idea of getting 2 in summer. But in addition, you don't know that you can get 2 of those guys, and the cost might be extreme. Point being, they're definitely going to get one of those major guys in summer, and they don't want to do anything that could potentially stop them from doing business in summer where they have their major targets, but it's a bit more flexible than that. What they don't want to do is spend money to get top 4 or 5. Buy players that they're not part of the long-term project, that they're not part of the future, that they're not in the long-term view, because it's going to get them top 4 or 5. That's not what they want to do. That's not the way that they're going to approach the January window. However, they're definitely willing to spend if there are players they feel fit their long-term plans that become available and are opportunities for January. So that's the way that they should look at it, and they should. I mean, they should. It would be really stupid. I look at these guys. I look at Amram. I look at Jim Ratcliffe. I look at Omar Barada. I look at all these guys, and I think they know how badly we need Champions League for our finances, for the future, for our stadium plans, for them to be able to sit there and say, yes, we're making serious progress. We're getting United back where it's supposed to be. There's no way I see that they go into January and say, you know what? That player, we could get him. He's available. He fits our long-term option. Nah, because it's a few months too early. Doesn't make any sense. They want to do these deals before July 1st anyway to have things lined up for after the World Cup. They want to get that done. So there's really no reason why they wouldn't be, getting these things going. There's really no reason why they wouldn't do any of these deals if they're a part of their long-term planning, and that they would look at it and say, yeah, this could be the springboard that puts us into top 4. This could be the springboard that, this season, by just doing it a little bit early, where it's a player we like even in summer that has a future at this club, if we sign him, doing it now. They would certainly consider that.
So that's super interesting from James there. He's telling us that they don't mind spending in January, but only if their major targets are available. So the likes of Anderson, Baleba, Wharton, according to James, are not likely to be available. And signing Joao Gomes now doesn't necessarily mean that we won't sign one or two of these other main targets in the summer. And specifically, the one thing that stood out to me is that even though they know about the top 4 race, even though they know that there's a good chance for us to get into the Champions League and do well this season, they don't want to spend just for the sake of spending. Semix, how are we feeling about all of that?
Well, I mean, first of all, let me say when I first heard the news or read the news on my social media, timeline, I get emotional. I've told you guys this in the past. I was getting really, really angry. So I am glad to hear someone like James say what he had to say. It does calm me down a little bit, because honestly, like, the first thing that went through my mind when I first heard the news is, back in September, this club proudly announced record revenues of around 665 million pounds for last season. Record revenue. And they did that while finishing 15th in the league. They did that while missing out on Champions League football. And they did that by cutting jobs across the club. People behind the scenes losing their livelihoods so the balance sheets look better for investors. Dude, we're talking record revenues. And now we're being told, yeah, so in January, we're probably not going to do any business. We'll wait for the summer, because at the end of the day, we've got a plan. And we're going to put the Manchester back into Manchester United. Bro, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how? How could you even be thinking like this? How can you look at our place in the league right now, being only 2 points off third place and 4 points off second, and be thinking, yeah, let's not invest? This is the perfect time to invest. Why would you roll the dice on what you've got when you've got Šeško injured? You got Xerxes potentially heading to Roma because we can't give him any playing time or a clear role. And then you've got the AFCON, which is about to strip away 2 of your most dangerous attacking options for, I think, at least 6 games during the most intense period of the season. And the message is going to be, we'll wait, we'll save it for summer, we'll get the perfect deal in the summer. And then there's no guarantee in the summer, because you've got a summer with a World Cup. Listen, man, this is actually why I hope you and Rishi are wrong about only getting 7 points out of the next 5 games. I need us to get into the top 4 or 5 before January. That way, the screws get tightened on the board, and it makes them show me what they're about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting thoughts there, Semix. I feel a little split on this. On the one hand, I have seen us do a lot of panic buys in the past, where if you remember back to the Bruno Fernandes signing, the scouting for Man United told the leadership group that he was giving away the ball too much, and that was one of the reasons they didn't want to go for him, and we didn't purchase him in the summer. And then the season went the way it did, and we ended up spending the money on him in the January transfer window. Now, thank God we did, because everybody knows how big a Bruno fan I am, and where in the world would we be if there was no Bruno Fernandes in this team? But that seems to be the only player that we had a terrible transfer decision making group at the club, and they made a last minute decision on him. But every other decision they've made has been bad. Like with Anthony, he was the guy who was going to come in and fix our right wing issue. We paid 90 million for him, and we were like, let's just get it done because it's an important player for us. We did the same thing a year or two before that on Sancho, where this is the most important guy for us. I know these are not January transfers, but my point is still that our thinking shouldn't be necessarily so short sighted, and I kind of agree with James on that side. But coming to your point about, yes, we have record revenues, and this does seem like a good time, because I don't look at Joao Gomes as somebody that's a short-term signing. I don't look at any of these other players. Like, even if we had, because what's the guarantee we wait till the summer and Wharton doesn't want to go to Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Baleba doesn't want to go to one of the other teams in Europe, or Anderson doesn't want to do the same thing? What's the guarantee that those guys are available to us even when we want to pay the money? So I can see both sides of the argument, but for now, I think I am okay. If you want to pull out another fifth player like a Buwadi or somebody, and you want to say that guy's going to come and start rotating with Casemiro, I can kind of see that working, but I don't want us to take short-term decisions. That's my main point.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. But just like yourself, just like James, I also agree that Joao Gomes actually is not a short-term option. I'm sure. Look, we all fantasize about having Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson and Carlos Baleba and things of that nature. But Joao Gomes is a player, man. Like, that guy is a player, and in the long run, I think we're going to need more than one central midfielder anyway. Like, we're probably going to lose Casemiro, and who knows what's going to happen with the other ones. And yeah, so I like I said, you look at the table, you look at where we're at, and we've got the money. So I don't want to hear it being a financial decision. I really don't want to hear that this transfer window. I'm kind of sick of that. That's a Glazer play. That's a Glazer kind of story. And I want to hear something different. I don't want to see something different. Plus, also, like, you're just kind of putting this manager in a really rough spot if you're not going to do it.
I hear you, man. And your point about me and Rishi predicting 7 points. There's people riled up, dude. People want to unsubscribe and block my channel just because I said that, which is hilarious to me. But I think we'll surprise you, Semix. I think we will surprise you in both these next 5 games and the 5 games during AFCON. I think we're going to underperform in these next 5 games, and I'm going to be predicting an overperformance in the 5 games after that, because that's the way United has been going for so many years. You go into games against Everton expecting to win, and then we get spanked, right? You go into games against City. How many times did was Ollie on the brink of losing his job, and then he plays City and Tottenham, and we're all singing Ollie at the wheel, right? After those games. So let's not forget, in the recent history of this club, we have a way to really let the team down, and also a way to really do something that nobody expects. So I think that's going to be the dichotomy of United going into the next 10 games, in my opinion.
And I completely appreciate that take, and I appreciate where you're coming from. But as like, my rational kind of head, as whatever is telling me, is that right now is when these board meetings are happening. Right now is when everybody's sitting around the table and deciding whether or not we're going to spend money in January. So I don't know if I'd much rather win these 5 games. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'd much rather have this be the time where we start climbing up the table and showing the board, like, hey, guys, like, this is the time to strike. I don't think it's going to do us any good if it's the next 5 games when the window's about to open, because then we get into panic transfer decision mode. And I don't want, you just said you don't want that, right? So you want us to be pre-planned. Well, that means right now is the right time to climb up the table.
So I want us to win all our games, right? Let's
I
make
know.
that clear. Before people are hitting the unsubscribe button, let me make sure. I want us to win all our games. I hear your point, because even from a board level, you can't make decisions based on us being an unexpected, unforecastable team, or whatever, the unpredictable team. Right. So you have to make decisions with a structure, and I hear you absolutely. I think we have to find a balance between the short term and finding players that could fit within the long term. Because, like you said, and spot on about it, we don't have any midfield depth. Because Amarim doesn't even want to use Ugarte or Menu. Let's be real about that. So we really have two midfielders right now.
And let's be
And we don't have
really
anything
honest.
beyond that.
Let's be even more honest than that. He didn't want to use Casemiro to begin with. Do you get what Casemiro just improved and got better, but he wasn't someone that he wanted to use. He wasn't someone first on the team sheet when Amarim first came in, right? So really, the only midfielder he kind of wanted to use was Bruno. That's it. One.
That's true. Spot on. Semix, let's move on swiftly to our next discussion. And there's a running theme here, guys, and look at us smart people here to have a transfer themed first episode and not have James the transfer guy here. But anyways, we're gonna cut to him. He's been nice enough to record for us. So our next question is Antoine Semenyo. He is available in January per a BBC report that we've both seen, and we've seen other people talk about it as well. He's available in January for the first 2 weeks of January for £65 million. And that's, I think, 60 plus 5 in add-ons. And let's just, without wasting any time, let's go to the transfer expert, shall we?
If United were to sign Antoine Semenyo, what it would mean for us, I think, when I look at Semenyo, and I've thought about this on a number of occasions. Months ago, I was saying, look, if we can get Semenyo so he can play on that left side, wing back, go for it. Do it now. It would be so perfect. Athletic, physical, fast, crazy, attacking. That's the level of player I want at wingbacks. Same as we have Ahmad on the other side. You might say it's too attacking, but if you had those threats on both sides, it would change the way that teams defend United so much. It would change the way that teams have to deal with United, and it would allow them with so much more opportunity to go forward and to be dangerous and to cause problems for the opposition. I think it would make it so we're not so much on the back foot having to do defending. But that being said, Semenyo can play everywhere. And I think that we do this thing as United fans because we're not used to it. I used to look at the City sides that had Aguero and Jesus and Silva and Sane and Sterling and De Bruyne and they had 8 really solid attackers that could play in the front 3 or 4. I look at our front 3 and I'm like, it's Šeško, Cunha, and Mbumo. And after that, Xerxes hasn't proven himself. Mount can't stay fit historically. Ahmad is out wide. Then it's Dowlow, Dorgu, Mazraoui. It's not a lot for 5 positions. We don't have even 5 good attackers right now. We have 4, maybe. And one's injured. We need 7 solid attackers for all these attacking positions that we have. We need 7. So we're still short 1 or 2, even with the guys that we have, even with Šeško back. And Semenyo, for me, I throw him up top at the number 9 at times. I throw him into Cunha's position. I throw him on the right. If you wanted to move Ahmad inside for a game for whatever reason, I throw him on the left. There's so many places you could put him that he would work because he's such a multi-tool, kind of faceted player in that respect. So I think he would unlock the ability to be a lot more flexible with the tactics. And that's the part that bothers me too. You get people who are so inflexible with the tactics, Don't suggest Semenyo at wingback. Come on, man. We're inflexible with the tactics because we have such inflexible players who have such little traits where it's they don't have the legs to play this position, so they have to play right here. They don't have the physical ability to cover this ground, so they have to play right here. They don't have this, so they have to play right here. We need guys like Semenyo who can play all over the place because that's what gives you tactical flexibility. That's what gives you the ability to change, to play within a system, and to throw off your opponents and have things not be so static. So people should be totally supportive of that if they're worried that we are too static and too inflexible in the way that we do things.
Wow, James, that's super interesting. Looks like he's been talking about Semenyo at months for left wing back. I have some thoughts on that, but let's hear from you first, Semix. He says that he likes his physical profile and that we don't have a lot of depth in the front 5 positions. He said something about 7 solid attackers to play in those positions. I agree with most of what James said. What do you think, Semix?
Well, first of all, I have to say that this is the kind of stuff when I hear James talking that I just feel refreshed. I'm like, dude, this dude actually knows football too. So I do like hearing this kind of stuff because I pride myself on being somebody who knows at least a little bit about football. I do like what he said. I just want to elaborate on some of the things that he said and tell you kind of my thoughts too. In the beginning, when he said, if Semenyo could come in and play as left wing back, he would take it in a heartbeat. I totally understand that take, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if Semenyo came in and he played at left wing back, only because we are in desperate need of someone who can attack from that position. My vision, though, for Semenyo is a little bit different. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, if I had Semenyo, if I was Ruben Amorim, I'd bring him in and I'd play him up front and alongside Mbumo, alongside Cunha, especially now that Šeško's out. Because there was another part in that James video where he said that he started naming off a Man City squad and a bunch of Man City players. And actually, the first thing I thought of today when I thought of Semenyo being in our attack, I thought of Rooney and Tevez in 2008. Dude, that was like one of my favorite Manchester United squads. You had Rooney, Tevez, Cristiano, Berbatov, Nani, Ryan Giggs. I mean, and I'm sure I'm leaving people out. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, and you had to fit 3 of those guys. And then the rest had to sit on the bench. And you're talking about Hall of Famers. Like, you're talking about great players.
Let's not forget Ji-sung Park.
Ji-sung Park, sure. But I'm talking about just forward line. You know what I mean?
No, but he was also playing. He did a job for us in many of the games. So your point about players that had to sit on the bench, he was one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I think about Semenyo coming in, I think about attacking with Mbumo Semenyo. Like, you got 2 pit bulls. We haven't had that since Tevez Rooney. And I used to love that. And then you have someone who's chaotic, and that was Cristiano back then. Now, I'm not saying Cunha is Cristiano, but Cunha has that same chaotic, surprising thing where you don't know what he's going to do next. You see what I'm saying? And you have 2 pit bulls in front of him that can press like animals and that can run all over the place. That's what I'm picturing. That's what I visualize. And that's why I would want him. And plus, you just can't argue with the price tag. You really can't argue with that price tag. So I don't even know why it would be a discussion. Like, you would sit with the board and go, hey, listen, we're going to spend money in the summer, right? Let's just move that forward. Let's just move that to January. You're going to spend it anyway. I don't care what the balance sheet looks like in quarter 2 or whatever, because their fiscal year is different than the normal year. I think they're in quarter 2 in January out of their fiscal year, because they start in September. That's why they announced their last year's revenue is in September, because that's when their new fiscal year starts. So they're probably in quarter 2 in January, and it's like, dude, just spend it in quarter 2 and don't wait till quarter 4. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's no big deal. We'll find a different way to balance the books later. You're going to spend it anyway.
Plus, Cunha was on last year's balance sheet because we purchased him before the
right
cutoff,
away.
like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's only Mbumo and Šeško technically that we signed this year, and Lomans that we signed this year. So I agree with you. I think we're not here to be financial accountants. We don't care about the finances. Our finance is our eyeballs and the shirts we buy and the merchandise we buy, the TV rights that we pay for and all that. So we should be getting a good product regardless of what your finances are, right? Because that's a club level, organization level decision.
Yep. And the age profile is perfect. The physicality is perfect. He's Premier League proven. The guy will not hurt. There's definitely no way he's not going to improve us. And his injury history is fine. Like, he's good on all fronts. It's a no-brainer. You don't not try. That doesn't mean you're going to get him. I am not an idiot. Like, I understand that he might not be wanting to come here. I know that we're not going to be the only team looking at him. That just doesn't make sense. Other teams have to be looking at him too because of all the things I just said. So I just hope we're at least going to try. It doesn't make sense for us not to try. That's all I can ask for from our board and our ownership group. And that's how I see it. But tell me, Andy, where do you see him playing, and what do you think about the overall thing?
So first of all, I really appreciate James, man, because he not only knows what he's talking about, but it's very clear that the messages he gets from the club are real, right? Like, he's not just blowing air and just saying random things. That sounds like the structured decision making that we've known to expect. When you hear Jason Wilcox talk in that Inside Carrington episode that they did, it sounds like those are the types of conversations they would be having in the boardroom. And that's exactly the kind of messages that James is being fed. So let's appreciate James for a second. On Semenyo, I agree with a lot of what both of you guys say. But the one thing I will say is I I don't really see his best position being left wing back. And I think that's a little bit of what you said, right, Semix, which is you want him to see as a striker. And I'll give you my specific reasoning behind that. I think Šeško is going to have a bad season, guys, and it's going to make the Gary Neville of the world look right, and I'm just going to be furious about it. I'm going to have my Semix moment when I'm just going through Twitter disliking a bunch of tweets, right? But what's going to happen is already this season he's gotten some flack. There's a few chances that he probably should have scored that he didn't. Nobody's giving him the time to adapt from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, where he has, that half a second less than he would have had in the Bundesliga, which naturally, guys, even a 27-year-old player would take time to adapt to that. You only have to look at Christopher Nkunku, who was winning all these awards for Leipzig in the Bundesliga. He came over as a 26-year-old and struggled for Chelsea, right? So when you see someone like Šeško struggling, and you see him getting up this knee injury and he's going to be out for a month. When he comes back from that injury, he's again going to be sluggish for the first few games. And we're going to go through like 6 months of the season and say, well, Šeško hasn't done anything yet. So that's what I mean by Šeško is going to have a bad season. When we sign somebody like Semenyo, he can do a lot of work for us across that front line. Not just as a starting 9, because Emre might look at his profile and say, actually, he's better in the 10, so let's move Cunha at the starting 10. Starting 9. So Semenyo can play anywhere across that front 3, and that's where I really see him adding value to the squad. And for me, again, guys, we don't know the type of season Semenyo is going to have in the second half. If he goes and scores like 18 goals in the league, like finishes with 18 or 20 goals, much like an Mbumo season, there's no reason why a Real Madrid doesn't go for him. There's no reason why some of the other top teams don't go for him. Bayern Munich might want additional depth in their starting line because, Harry Kane decides to leave or something like that. So I think it's a combination of good price and the right time to do it. And like James said earlier, if he fits into our long-term structure, then what does it matter if it's January or the summer? The price is the price, and we should just go get him.
Yeah, and also like just in my head, I can't stop picturing all three of them fluidly taking each other's positions and moving in and out of positions, making diagonal runs because they can comfortably take each other's positions. It just makes the system run so much better. But again, I totally also wouldn't be shocked if he joined our team and ended up as a left wing back, only for until we get one, right? Until we get a left wing back that can play there.
Yeah, for sure. I think Patrick Dorgu is going to surprise some of us throughout this season by doing a little better than he's been doing. And Dallo, I don't want to talk about Dallo. Let's not bring the temperature of the room down. But let's move on to our next question or next point of discussion, Semix, which is another transfer discussion. This time based around a certain Vinicious Jr., who's apparently available for around 100 million euros. Should United consider signing him? Yet again, let's start with James.
If Vinicious Jr. was available in the summer, I think that United probably at this stage wouldn't consider that. I don't think it's the type of player that INEOS will look at when they've signed all these forwards and they're looking at Prem. I think that we're still 1 full year away from taking like these big cherry on top type of players, like a Pogba, esque like signing where you drop them into a finished team and they can elevate you and do crazy numbers. I think they're totally willing to spend money, pay big wages for great top players at the right time. I think that 2027 summer, we're 26, 27, that season, we have to prove we're starting to challenge for titles, that we're able to compete and play in 4 different competitions. And then you look at who are these like crazy players we could get that could elevate the squad even further in terms of its ceiling. So I think we're still not next summer, but a summer away from even considering those types of people.
Again, super interesting from James. He says we're not considering Vinicious Jr. at this stage in the rebuild, I suppose. He says we're about a year away, maybe 2 years away from getting somebody like him who's, a big name, big profile player. I'll give my thoughts on this first, Semix, because this might ignite some fire in the comments. I don't think Vinicious Jr. is going to be very good in the Premier League, man. And it's not because he's not a good player. It's just that it's a very physical league, and we are trying to build a system not a team around these high profile players, right? Because you saw Javi Alonso taking him off, like substituting him off recently, and he was throwing a fit on the sideline. That is going against the type of personalities we want at this club. Like that would be the exact opposite of signing Brian Mbumo, right? Because Brian Mbumo is a big profile, very good player, but so humble, right? Whereas Vinicious Jr. has been in the spotlight since he was 17. So I don't want to sign him. I also don't think he's going to look as good as like second in the Ballon d'Or, Vinicious Jr. in the Premier League. And here's some cold hard facts, right? According to Capology, he's currently making 480,000 euros per week. That is including bonuses, which I was actually surprised by because Kylian Mbappe is making like 1.3, 1.4 million. So I would have thought Vinicious Jr. is, fairly close to him. But even at that wage, it would break the wage structure at United completely. And the second thing I want to bring up is Madrid players tend to play like 50, 60 games every season. And Vinicius Jr. has had a very good injury record so far. He's 20. How old is he right now?
27?
He's 25 years old.
25.
He's 25 years old, and he's only missed 38 games since the 18-19 season in his career. That is very impressive, let me tell you. It's not quite Bruno Fernandes impressive, but it is very impressive. My point is, I think he's going to pick up a lot more injuries the next contract that he gets because he's that flair player. And when, those guys tend to have more of those issues that come up, especially in a more physical league. So for me, stay away from Vinicius Jr.
Yeah. So a little bit about myself, I guess. Every time I get a new FIFA game, the first thing I do is with every coin I have, I buy one superstar player and then I surround him with like all bronze players. You know what I mean? And I'll just pass that guy the ball and do every skill that I can, learn how to do to try and score goals. So that is kind of in my nature to love that guy. Like Neymar is the kind of player I love. Not anymore, not because of the attitude problems, but early Neymar. I was watching Neymar at Santos on like every internet way I could stream to watch Santos play just because I wanted to watch Neymar play before he went to Barcelona. I kept watching him in Barcelona and then whatever, it doesn't matter. We all know the story. But growing up, my favorite players are R9, Ronaldinho. So I do have an affinity for also Brazilian players. I've been dying for our squad or our team, for Manchester United to have good Brazilian players with skill. That's why Cunha is right there. Literally, Cunha is right behind me. You sign a skillful Brazilian player, I'm putting his poster on my wall, and I'm an adult, yeah? But I wouldn't get Vinicious Jr., man. And it's all because of attitude. It's literally all because of attitude. So James is being the most, let's say, practical one. He's telling us exactly like what the future holds for us by saying, hey, we're a year or two away from signing that kind of marquee signing. I just hope that when we do reach that point where we are signing a marquee signing, that it's a flair full marquee signing. I don't want that's what I want. I want a guy who could take on 2-3 guys and score like a magnificent goal every 4 or 5 games. You know what I mean? Because I'm watching every game waiting for that moment again. But yeah, that's just the little kid in me that just gets.
That's a great point, Semix. And I guess I'm trying to say I want us to go get the next Vinicious Jr.
Yeah,
right? I want us to go get Eden Hazard when he was at Lille. And Eden Hazard is the type of player that, even though he is that flair, skillful player, he had very good physicality about him, right? His lower body was like much bigger. And we on the recent live stream we did on my channel, we had a few viewers that came on and talked about, the Bunda and why it's important. And they were liking Mbumo and all that. It was funny, but it's also true, right? You need to use your center of gravity, like low center of gravity players. That's why Mbumo, even at 5'7", is very strong and he can go up for those physical duels and actually win some of them. So I want to get the next Eden Hazard and not necessarily the next Vinicious Jr. just purely based on the profile of the player for the Premier League. And I think we've done a good job of talking about Vinicious Jr. I think everybody other than diehard Vinny fans are probably happy with that take because what's it gonna do, right? It's not. We could get Mbappe in this team and we're just not going to be very good because you need 11 players to play well, not just one player dribbling through everybody. This isn't the 80s when Maradona could do that, or even the early 2000s when Messi and Ronaldo could do that. The structure of football has changed a lot. Signing one maverick player is not going to take you back to the top. Okay, Semix. We have talked about transfers quite a bit in this video, and I think the viewers have a general idea of what we're going to do in January, right? The club is going to be reasonable, and if they see a player there that they like, they're going to go get him. But I want to take us to the after hours segment of this episode, to the spicy habanero segment, where we discuss our hot takes. And I think we've done a pretty good job of bringing you the spiciest, the Carolina Reapers of hot takes. Let's just hope that it doesn't get one of us canceled. So, just like every segment we've done today, let's start with James.
In terms of my hot take, so I think that for me, it would be that I would be fine with any of our midfielders leaving and bringing in 3 or 4 more. I wouldn't care. Not because some of them aren't good or I don't like them or anything like that. But if all 4 of them left, I wouldn't be bothered in the slightest. Because I think we can build a better unit of midfielders, and that would be a real reset in the team and we'd start to see quite a big difference there. And it's not to say they haven't been good. It's not like Casemiro hasn't been good this season or even Bruno hasn't been improving, but I just wouldn't mind if all 4 of them left, because I just think that for how Amram wants to play, I'm all in. I think we could get better fits as a whole squad, as a whole unit for that midfield. And that's my thing. I think if 4 midfielders left, if all of them left and we just reset, I don't think we'd get worse. I think we'd just get better. And I think that with younger players, more energy, all of that, we would see this team go up another level. And it's also just, there's a part of me inside that feels like I just want to move on and be done with everything from the past 5-8 years. Not even their fault, you know what I mean? But I just want to move on. We'd have a new front 3 and a whole new back line and goalkeeper and everything. Let's just move on. So that would be my hot take for that.
All right. So when I first saw this video, I was kind of a little bit upset because it's kind of my hot take too. Let me recap what he said. He basically said he's okay with getting rid of every midfielder. He didn't name the names, but the names are basically Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Ugarte, and Kobe Mainu. He basically said he's okay with getting rid of all 4 of them because he wants to move on from the last 6 to 8 years, and that he's pretty much saying that if we move on from 4 of them, that we're going to get better. We're not going to get worse. That is pretty much a hot take, because I'm sure some of these viewers, some people who are listening to us right now might not agree with getting rid of all 4. I pretty much can guarantee that. But I'll tell you what, I don't disagree with the man. I'm also in the same kind of boat. I just knowing the system, knowing the tactics, and knowing what would work out better in the midfield, I would say that, yeah, none of those 4 have the legs required to really make this system tick. And none of those 4, Casemiro used to about 10 years ago or 8 years ago. But in today's time, none of those 4 really, really fit in the puzzle the right way. So I agree with him, but I'll take it one further since I have to come up with my own hot take. Other than Amad Diallo, I'd get rid of every single wing back we have too. So I'd get rid of every single one of our wing backs other than Amad Diallo. Now look, some of you might think I'm not thinking straight, but no, I'm talking about Mazraoui. I'm talking about Diogo Dalot, and I'm talking about Patrick Dorgu. I'd get rid of all 3 of them. And if we replace them, I think we would get better. I think we'd get players that are supposed to play as wingbacks. None of those guys are proving to be actual wingbacks. And believe me, yes, I'm including Mazraoui because I know there's a lot of Mazraoui likers, lovers, whatever you want to call it out there, audience members of mine that come and get in my comments and tell me how wrong I am about Mazraoui. But I'm telling you, he's not a good wingback. He's a good fullback, not a good wingback. And guys, please keep in mind what a hot take is. A hot take isn't an opinion you're supposed to agree with. A hot take
no, Semix, I don't want any of this explanation. If you guys want to unsubscribe right now, it's down below. You can go unsubscribe. Ain't none of this. He said his piece. There's no walking it back. It's a hot take, but it's one that he believes. Because I don't want to hear a hot take you don't believe in. Right?
No, I believe in it. I believe in it, but don't. But what do you mean? I can also say that what's the point of me saying something I believe in that I know everybody else is going to believe in? That's all I'm
That's
saying. Is
true.
that
Exactly. So
that's the name of the
say it with your
segment.
and stick
Oh,
with
I'm
it.
I'm saying
There's
it with
no,
my
yeah,
chest.
there we go. Okay, there we go. I'm not gonna let him
Oh,
just
you're
take
hot.
it back. Yeah.
I'm not taking it back.
Yeah, guys, just
This
wait
is good.
till you hear. Yeah, wait till you hear all three hot takes, and then get in the comments below who had the best one or the worst one, right? But that's very interesting. Honestly, for me, the only problem I have with what both of you guys are saying is that Bruno and Kabi. Those are two players that I wouldn't say the same thing about. And the reason is that what I'm seeing from Amarim is that he has the ability to figure something out based on the players that he has, right? A lot of people were praising Glasner for, oh, he looks at his players and plays the system accordingly. Well, Amarim does the same thing, right? He's put Bruno into the 8 position, but he doesn't play as a traditional 8. He's getting forward a lot, right? He's interchanging with the 10s a lot, whereas Casemiro tends to sit a little bit more, and it's that diamond shape that Semix has talked about so much on his channel. My point is, I think if we get better wingbacks, I do agree with your second hot take, by the way, or your main hot take, I guess, whatever you want to call it. In my opinion, once we get better wingbacks and Sheshko or whoever the striker is learns how to play the system very well, Bruno can really evolve in the system, and we have less reliance from that second midfield spot to do as much defensive work as it needs. And I think that's the biggest reason we're talking about energy and legs, and why somebody could do better than him. So, in my opinion, I would still want to keep. I want to see what a 22-year-old, 23-year-old Kabi Menu can do. It's going to take time for him to bed into the system, but I'm not ready to give up on him yet. And I also want to see what Bruno Fernandes can do with all of the positions in our team being like as fixed as they can be, other than that one position of his, because I think he would look even better than he already does, and that would be my opinion. But we have to go to my hot take now. So my hot take for this video is it goes back to our academy and something that I've never heard anybody else talking about, and that is Mason Greenwood would have been the best academy player to ever come out of United had the scandal not happened. And today he would have been worth at least 120 to 150 million. And yes, that means he would have been potentially better than Paul Scholes and potentially better than the Neville brothers or whoever else you want to talk about, Ryan Giggs as well, because I saw something from that kid whenever he played, the laser accurate precision with which he could score goals with both feet. We're looking at Phil Foden being player of the season. We're looking at other players in his age profile like Cole Palmer being, best player in a Club World Cup final. Mason Greenwood had the equivalent talent, if not better than all of those guys. And, I don't rate Phil Foden that highly anyways. And in my opinion, had whatever happened with him not happened, today we'd be talking about one of the best players England has ever produced.
Okay, so I hope everybody enjoyed this podcast because this is probably
Yeah.
going to be our last episode. And,
Yeah.
Andy found a way to blow this whole thing up before it ever got started.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
fantastic. And then he wanted me to say my hot take with my chest. Guys,
I did say it with my chest. Am I walking it back?
that's great. That's even better. Um, Mason Greenwood. I always thought the kid had footballing talent, but I thought he had a weird gait, if you will, like a running style. And I think that he has a ceiling. I don't think he would be the best academy player to ever come out. It has nothing to do with a scandal. I think, he's a horrible person and I'm glad he's gone. But even when he was with us, his finishing accuracy was the best thing about him. I don't think it was his running style or pretty much his dribbling style. And it wasn't like how accurate his passes are, if you will. It was mostly his finishing accuracy, which is great. It's fantastic. It was, like a sniper. But at some point, I think that he's going to end up a little bit older, a little bit heavier. He's not going to be a scrawny little kid anymore. And he's not going to find the space that he's finding. And honestly, I don't think I'm just not a big believer in, and maybe I'll be proven wrong, and he'll show that with that running style, he can still skip past people. But yeah,
Well, you're going to lose one subscriber today, Semix. I'm sorry, because I disagree with your take. I'll tell you why. You know who has a weird running style that people haven't really deeped yet? Brian Mbumo. If you see him running on full sprint, he looks like a little kid running on the pitch.
Yeah, no,
And
I agree, but
yeah,
can
go
I
for it.
just add that like Brian Mbrumo's dribbling style or carrying of the ball style isn't to cut left, right, and go around. It's very much like find open space, kick the ball in that open space, and race you there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it.
So Mason Greenwood had a bit of both. Again, maybe we're watching different highlights, but for me, I saw Mason Greenwood doing the step overs like you're talking about, but the step overs were more for the finishing, right? The space that he needed for the finishing, because he would do the step overs and then shoot. Whereas if he was carrying the ball forward, he would do a lot of the kick it into space and run behind it. Not quite as fast as Rashford, so I agree with you there. Like he's not like some rapid player, but I think, listen, we've seen him. It's not like he's vanished off the face of the earth. He plays for Marseille now, and he is still scoring goals, and he hasn't really slowed down in terms of his pace. He hasn't really bulked up in his weight either. And again, listen, he's been out of the limelight for 2 years where he didn't play any football. He didn't play any professional games. So that takes a big hit on a player like that. Let's not forget, he came into the team, I think, when he was 17, and the scandal happened around 19, 20, something like that. So we're talking like 2, 3 years down from that. If he had kept on improving, we would have seen, I'm telling you, easily 120, 130, 140 million type player. Because you look at Bukayo Saka, right, at Arsenal, does he have explosive anything within his game like the electricity that we see from Vinicious Jr.? He doesn't, right? He's a very good coachable player, and that's why Arteta likes him so much, and he has good traits to him, but he's not like the he's going to beat 10 players and score a goal like a Messi or Ronaldo. But his net worth, his worth according to Transfermarkt is also like 120 million euros or something like that. So I'm just telling you guys, you'll be surprised, Semix, how many people agree with this in the comments down below. But we'll see. That's for another day. We're not going to find out right now. But that's my hot take, guys.
Guys, like he said, we're going to see in the comments down below. So I do want to see your comments down below. Please let us know what you think about this whole entire episode. I hope to God not every comment is about that hot take. I really want to hear more about what you guys think of everything you just saw, heard. Remember, it was your comments on the last time that we did this that made us do this again. I want you to please show us the same kind of feedback. We love to read the feedback. We do read the comments, even if you don't get replies from us. Believe me, every single comment gets read. Every single good opinion gets considered. So please leave comments. And also go to all three of our channels. If you've only subscribed to one or two of our channels, go to all three of our channels and show your love and support, because that's why we're doing this. We're doing this to just kind of try to grow and make something out of it.
Yeah, and how many? Just a prediction, Semix. How many people do you think are gonna unsubscribe or block me because they said they're gonna interpret my Mason Greenwood take as I hate Paul Scholes or I hate the other academy players because I don't rate them high enough? But I'm just saying that's how highly I would have rated Mason Greenwood had his development kept going on.
Oh, dude, in the back of my brain right now, all I'm thinking about is, are you serious? We just made the first episode and we had one guy say he wants to get rid of Kobe Mainu. We had another guy say he wants to get rid of Dorgu, Delo, and Mesraoui. Then we had a third guy who goes, I wish we never got rid of Mason Greenwood. Wish the scandal never happened.
I mean, don't we all wish the
not-
scandal never happened? Like that he never did what he did. First of all, not that that it didn't come out or anything weird like that. That he never did what he did because we would
I
have
mean,
all loved to see him, flourish
honestly,
in the
I wish that kind of thing never happened in the world entirely. No,
Yeah,
I
of
don't care
course.
who the
Yeah.
person is, right? Like that. It's just it disturbs me and it doesn't make sense in my head. Like I don't find that anyway. I can't
Yeah.
really talk about it because
Someone's gonna turn this portion into like
right,
some weird hot take we have as well.
yeah,
So
and I don't
before
want
that
it to be a
happens, let's
clip.
just end the episode. Yeah.
Yes,
Someone's gonna clip us.
yeah. Peace. I'm
All
out.
right. See you guys. Bye.